Hi, and welcome to Green Chili Cheeseman. 11 years ago, we made a film called The Last Rose, a DV Media entertainment project that still carries emotional weight. Today I sit down with one of the co-stars, Lara Shah, whose journey from growing up Indian in Florida to working at MTV, leaping into film, and moving from Texas to LA is nothing short of inspiring. We revisit the grind, the breakthroughs, and the spark that might just lead to a new collaboration. This one's personal, poetic, and full of creative echoes. Welcome to Green Chili Cheeseman. Cali chick from all the cannons, a whiskey swiller, gonna smoke you out. I ain't never, ever seen such a girl like that. And Miss Lara Shah, how are you doing today? Welcome to Green Chili Cheeseman.
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you. Happy to be on.
Where are we finding you at?
First of all, I can't believe it's 11 years since we shot The Last Rose.
Yeah.
That's unreal. I'm in Los Angeles. Been here for almost 10 years, actually.
You've been there for 10 years already? Already? Holy cow.
Most I know.
So
yeah.
you left right
March will
after.
be 10 years.
You left right after year after we shot that film. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
probably like a year and a half after we
For people who don't really know, we did a film. It was very kind of experimental for me, I guess. It was the first film I wrote with two female characters, and that was it. You know, and I didn't know how that was gonna go or any of that, and it was called The Last Rose, which that title comes from a Judas Priest song, one of their only mellow, slow songs called The Last Rose of Summer. I don't know if you knew that. That was a pretty interesting film that we did. I still, your lines, I still memorize, I have your lines memorized, some of them, still, to this day. I bet you sleep, I bet you have a snooty, the boyfriend sleeps under your snooty little nose. Oh, man.
I actually somewhat recently rewatched The Last Rose. I can't remember, the last year or so, I think.
What did you think of it? What did you think? Wow, that was interesting.
I loved it. I was like, well, I remember the process of shooting. That was interesting. It was a drizzly, overcast day.
Yeah.
And we had the cigarettes. We ran out of like the herbal ones.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like chain smoking.
Man, yeah, that's right.
I remember with the process of it, like really loving getting to dig into my character and experience Brittany's character. And the whole thing felt really raw and comfortable. I remember like the feeling that I had in my body while I was shooting. It was really fun to get into Rita's, body there.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Yeah, man, those looks that you just had you were doing it. You were really doing it. And Brittany, I think she had worked till like 3. She was a bartender, and she worked like 3 in the morning. We were shooting at 7 or something. So she was a champ.
Right.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
let's.
It was really fun to work with her.
Yeah, I'm glad she's doing well too. Let's. I don't know if you know much about this podcast.
Yeah.
We've recorded about 15 people already. We've interviewed, and just the second one dropped today. And it's like a legacy thing. A legacy podcast. Thank you. Everyone they've really responded to the idea, and today's episode, if you listen to it later on today, you'll it's with Stephanie Urbina Jones, who I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, but she's from San Antonio. I met her 14 years ago when she was doing 2 and 3 gigs a day. She was on the Grand Ole Opry stage on Friday. That's amazing. And so she made me cry, and I made her choke up, and it's a
Yeah.
really good.
And it's just such a great way to go down memory lane too, and like revisit like old friendships and work situations and
Oh
everything.
my God, yeah. So let's get started here. I know we're already running late. Tell me about your parents and the house that you grew up in. What kind of house was it that you grew up in?
Oh my God, fun question and really great timing. My parents are actually here visiting me right now.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, they're here from Florida.
Okay.
My brother and his wife are about to have a baby, and they live like 15 minutes away. So my parents have been staying with me for like the last week.
Oh, okay. So you better answer correctly if they're
Yeah.
listening.
So yeah, grew up. Mom. I grew up in Jersey, born and raised in New Jersey, and it's the four of us: mom, dad, brother, and myself. Brother is 4 years and 1 day younger than me. So I was born June 17th. My brother was born June 18th. And we're Gemini twins, about 4 years apart.
Okay.
We had a pretty ideal, picturesque childhood. My brother played sports. I was a bookworm. We had our like games we played children and charades and board games and things like that. After school, we'd come home and watch our hour of television before starting our homework. Everything was
Right.
really like structured and lovely. Summers were spent outside, running around, riding our bikes, getting dirty, playing with the neighborhood cat. Like
Right.
it was pretty ideal.
Grandparents, are they still with you, or what do you remember of your grandparents?
Yeah. So my dad's mom passed when I was pretty young, and my dad's dad passed before I was even born, so I never got to meet him. On my mom's side, my grandparents would come from India for like 6 months at a time.
Mm.
They would stay with us for 2 months, and then they would go down to Florida where all my mom's siblings were, where my parents now live. And they would stay there for like 4 months and like just bounce around the houses of like another five siblings. And so we got to spend a lot of really good time with my grandparents growing up. And my grandfather passed when I was 15. And my grandmother passed just like 7-ish years ago.
Okay.
So I did get like really good grandmother. And after my grandfather passed, she basically just moved to Florida and like stayed with all of the siblings
Okay.
full time. So yeah, it was really lovely to have all of them around for however long I did get to have them. My grandfather, I would say though, the one who passed when I was 15, he is my hero, my role model, my idol. He was just that guy who like had his hand in a bunch of different things. He was an entrepreneur, very like savvy, traveled, but like the biggest, most generous heart, and like would always like help people and give them jobs, in
Yeah.
whatever capacity he could, write them letters of recommendation, find them housing, like just help people like in whatever way he could, with whatever resources he had, connections, things like that. I admire that and I try to emulate that in however I can to honor him.
Yeah, he sounds like a really good man.
Yeah.
Cooking wise, did your grandmother bring traditions down and thus your mother and onto you cooking wise?
So yes, and my mom. So we grew up in our household eating Indian food
Uh-huh.
throughout the week. Monday through Thursday for sure was like Indian food. Friday was kind of our like freebie night where we could get like pizza or Chinese food or
Okay.
fried chicken or whatever. But most of the time we were eating Indian food in our household. And I would help my mom a little bit here and there in the kitchen while I was growing up. And now while she's here for the week, if I turned the camera around and you saw my kitchen, it's like full of like Indian food all over right now. It's like my mom cooking up a storm while she's here. So she's trying to teach me in between like my work and other commitments.
Well, I would suggest that you take as much as you can, so you can pass that on as well. Um,
Yes.
what's the big
Yeah,
family
it's
dish that you all cook that
transformation.
when you all get together you have to have that dish?
So there are a couple. There's one called pav bhaji, and that's like essentially like sloppy joes, where it's carrots, peas, cauliflower,
Mm-hmm.
and a whole bunch of veggies like mushed up together with like a bunch of spices. and then you eat that with like potato roll bread.
Mm.
And so that's like our version of sloppy joe. My personal favorite is this thing called pani puri, and it's inflated like circles that you tap and you like open up and you put like beans and a whole bunch of like veggies and potatoes and things like that and spices, and then you put in like a tamarind chutney and
Mm.
a spicy green like water, fill it up, and then you eat it, and it's like bite sized. It's delicious. Whenever
That's,
I go to Florida, my mom makes that. I eat like 3 platefuls,
oh my
and my
gosh.
parents are just staring at me like, how is she going this out?
That sounds
So good.
amazing. So let's go back to you
Yeah, so
growing up.
good.
In school, where did you go do most of your school? In Florida or in Texas, or where were you with through high school?
In New Jersey.
In New Jersey, excuse me.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh, Elementary, middle, and high were all in New Jersey. We actually started schooling in pre-K in Florida. We were there for a year. We moved down from New Jersey for a year. My brother was born in Florida. And then it was actually the first time I ever acted when I was like 4 years old.
okay.
And somewhat recently, past trip with the one to Florida, I actually got to go past that school where I did my first acting performance. Took a photo in front of it. So
All right. So did you volunteer for it, or were you put in it, or how did that come about?
honestly, I don't even remember. I just remember the play called The Three Little Kittens, and I was the mama kitten. And I remember saying on stage, "Naughty kittens, you've lost your mittens." And I'm thinking, this is the coolest thing ever. Except that I was 4, but like the feeling was there. I was like, this is it. Like I'm going to be an actor for the rest of my life.
So, okay, let's play off of that. So, what was the next thing that you found yourself doing in that regard?
Yeah. In elementary school, we had a bunch of plays that we did in school that I volunteered and like signed up for. Um, Fun fact, I actually didn't play a female role until after high school. So every role that I've ever played in middle school, elementary school, high school has always been a boy.
What?
And so I remember being Benjamin Franklin
Oh my
in the
gosh.
Benjamin Franklin play. It's like white wig and these tight pants on and everything. And I was Benjamin Franklin. And then that was in elementary school. I did a bunch of plays in elementary and middle school, and then in high school it was like the thing, right? The school play was like a big production.
Right.
And my first year I was really nervous and scared to audition,
Right.
so I think I had just imposter syndrome. And so I just did backstage stuff. I like worked on the props, the set,
Right.
things like that for the play, just to be a part of it, and without like committing to you know being on stage. And then I decided to try out my sophomore year, and I auditioned. I was like practicing the song. I was singing in the house. I was trying, and I'm not a singer. And so I auditioned, and they were like, "That's good. That's enough. We're good."
Oh no.
And they made me like a tree or
Oh
something,
no.
or like a boy,
Another boy
a
role.
guy in the background. But it was fine. It was fine. I was just really happy to just be on stage and do something in some capacity.
That's crazy. My and not very many people know this, but and now they will. My first one on stage was in middle school, and I played Georgie Porgy from Georgie Porgy Pudding and Pie. Kissed a girl and made her cry.
Because the girls have made them cry.
It's like a whole. It's like a whole. It was a whole
That's so.
play. It's a play that I guess it was normal back then. I don't know, but Georgie Porgy, yeah, and that was it was an interesting feeling because it's all in front of your classmates, and then at night when you do plays at night, in front of the student body and parents, and it's definitely an interesting feeling to be on stage and up there.
Yeah, it's really
Um,
fun, isn't it? Like,
it
that.
yeah, it really is. When did you transition into film? What was your first film project?
So I actually, after high school, I went to college for something. I went for English literature. I was going to do journalism because I thought, I
Me
want to
too.
be an actor, but I don't really see very many of my type on camera,
Right.
on the screens. Like I don't see that. So I was kind of afraid to get into it, feeling like it wasn't going to be a thing. At that time, Cal Penn and
Mm-hmm.
a few other actors were really it, like Indian actors on
Right.
television or in film. And so I went the corporate route. I worked at MTV and I worked at Warner Brothers, and I did all of that while I was in New York. And it was great. I got to meet a lot of celebrities and work with some really great people. But when I moved to Austin, my ex-husband got into business school at UT. And so we moved down to Austin in 2011. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was like, should I get back into like marketing, sales? Like, what does my life look like now that I'm in a place where I have to start all over?
Mm-hmm.
I loved the show One Tree Hill,
Right.
and it was in its last season. So I asked my ex-husband, would you want to go to Wilmington with me and go be background on the show? And he said yes. So I emailed casting, and I was like, hi, I'm interested in, being a background. Here are pictures of my husband and me. We want to be on the show. He said, yes, we'd love to have you, but of course it's background, so they're not going to fly us out or
Right.
anything
Right.
like that. He had already started in school by the time we got this reply. And so he was like, why don't you go and do it? Because that's what like you truly want to do.
Right.
And so I went and I spent a few days there, and I shot on last season. And I was supposed to be one of like 100 extras. And they actually got rigged out, and they ended up shooting before I even landed. And so I
Oh.
was on the phone with casting. I'm like, I just landed. They're like, we had to shoot. I'm so sorry. But do you have black pants and a black blazer? We can have you in like another scene. And I said, yeah. Like I had black pants with me. I went and bought a blazer,
Right.
and I ended up becoming a detective in one of the scenes. So instead of 100 extras, I was one of 9. So I got
Wow.
like a little bit of time, which was really cool. I got to like hang out with like, the cast and stuff. And that was it. I was like, this, I'm sold. Like I did this when I was 4, but now I'm 27, and it's the thing. Like I have just been delaying it.
That's
So
pretty cool.
had this amazing experience in Wilmington, and flew back to Austin, threw myself into 3 classes a week, and just and started taking classes, learning the business, all that. Because coming from like the corporate side of things, I was like, well, this is at the end of the day, how do I like function within that? I didn't let myself audition for 1 year at all. I wanted to make sure when I walked into a casting director's room that I knew what I was doing. And so a year later, I finally auditioned for my first thing, and booked it. And
Nice.
ever since that's been great.
It's been great. Yeah, you have had a varied career in the industry, and all that helps. I'm sure because if you understand more of of the industry that you're in, just better for you overall. So what year was that in that you did that One Tree Hill? That's got to be like 2011, 2012.
2011, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's,
Funny full circle moment. So the casting director assistant that I was emailing back and forth with
hmm.
about One Tree Hill, she was the one who said, "Yeah, come on, like do this, like come on over, let's have you shoot." I fast forward to earlier this year. I went to a casting director workshop at SAG-AFTRA, and
Hmm.
I'm a SAG member now.
Hmm.
And so I went for a workshop with this casting director. I like always watched her videos. I really love what she puts out there. It's real, it's raw, it's authentic. And her name's Alexis, and AW Casting. And
Shout out.
she and I are chatting, and I was like, she mentioned, I was like, "Dude, the last season?" She's like, "Yeah, I did." I was like, "I was on the last season." And so we're chatting after the workshop ends. We go and get a coffee, and I pull up my emails from 2011.
Hmm.
Turns out she was the casting director I was emailing 14 years ago.
Oh, what?
Isn't that so
That's
crazy?
insane.
Yeah.
Whoa. So that was
Yeah, it was a
20.
very full circle moment.
That was
She gave me my first job.
That is pretty awesome. And then you kept in touch with her and inadvertently. So that was
Yep.
2011.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in 2012 is
Mm-hmm.
when I shot the first iteration of The Last Rose. I don't know if you know that. I had shot it before.
Mm.
It was at
Don't know
it was at San Pedro Park.
that. Okay.
Let me back up a little bit here because I had been in, like you, doing extra work and background, and the last thing that I was in front of the camera was All the Pretty Horses, the movie All the Pretty Horses. And so my agent
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
got me in, and that was like, I have Matt Damon stories up the wazoo. But what happened was I mean, I was an extra. I was a stand-in for Ruben Blades. One day, and then we were there for, it was weeks. We were there for weeks. There was a thing that Billy Bob Thornton, the director, and Matt Damon were tossing the ball around. This is like week two, tossing the ball, baseball, in between, lunch or whatever. And me and this other guy, I just inserted myself
Mm-hmm.
into their rotation, and we started, doing the three, and then the four of us started tossing the ball. And so I don't
Uh-huh.
even know, I can't remember exactly if we had like conversations or anything. I'm sure we did. But the next thing you know, I was standing next to Billy Bob when he was directing. I was next to him when he was directing. And I was just out
That's
of the
amazing.
army. So I was kind of knew how to be, incognito and kind of hiding. Not just out. I had been it recently, and so that was the last time that I said that I'm not going to be in front of the camera anymore. I'm going to be behind the camera. And so the last rose in 2012, we
Mhm.
filmed at San Pedro Park. Terrible mistake, which is why we had the location we had. It was just, people were honking, and when we finally got all a shot that there was no honking and
Mhm.
nobody screaming in the set, because we started early in the morning and it just get later and more people kept showing up. So we finally got that first. I said, okay, let's go. We have to go. We got it, and during editing, our microphones picked up. There's a high rise like behind us, behind the set, and our microphone picked up a couple arguing throughout the whole film. So we had to scrap it,
Oh no.
which is good for you
Oh
because,
no. Oh jeez, I'm so sorry.
and it was just like, oh,
Right. I'm
um,
not so sorry.
nah, not so sorry. And that's why that location
Oh
was
my gosh. Yeah, no, our
so
Alex is
isolated.
fantastic.
I wanted to make sure that it was isolated, that there was going to be no interruptions. And then another thing happened. I don't know if you remember Leah Weinberger. Do you remember a lady with glasses on set?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I worked with her on a movie called 3 Days.
Oh yeah, so she just came down. She contacted me and wanted to come down and watch us film. That was crazy. So she was like
Oh my
a creative. We
God.
listed her as a creative consultant on that project. So that was weird. I mean, that was weird for me. It was like my first, like again, my second first film. That kind of ties into both of us. So it was a
No,
fantastic
I love
thing that
I didn't,
I liked
yeah,
it.
no, I didn't know your origin story either. I love that. There's always like that light bulb moment, right? When we're like, this is what we're
Yeah,
meant to do.
exactly. So I don't know if you know this about my films. I've done 8 films. In all of them,
Okay.
Doug Somm, who is right here, he sits and watches me as I work. He is considered the grandfather of Texas music. And so I have a real close relation. I just interviewed his son
Oh,
Monday, and Shandon saw him. He was like a drummer with the Meat Puppets, and he's in the Netherlands. And I just interviewed him, and it freaked me
oh,
out
wow.
because he sounds so much like his dad, and I am he's like one of my writing idols, songwriting idols. So every film I've done, and if you watch the end of our film, there's a Doug Somm song. Every film I've done, Doug is in there in one way or another. We used his Cadillac in one film because we have his last Cadillac that when he passed, the Cadillac that he was driving, our company bought it, Michael.
Wow.
And so, anyways, that's another thing that people really don't know about the films that I create. There's all these little homages to, and he's,
Little Doug.
yeah. I mean, if it's
Oh, that's beautiful.
I'll put him in dialogue some way or another. He's in there. And that's just my homage to. And Shandon didn't know, and he was just like, "Oh my God, are you serious?" Anyways, so okay, so that's when film um,
That's
for you. Let's go music a little bit. What kind of music do you listen to? Who are some of your earlier music heroes?
well, we're going back to 1990s and 2000s when I first got my Iowa CD changer to cassette tape machine. It was Boys to Men, you know, Mariah Carey, it was Celine Dion, it was NSYNC, the
The
usual players. I yeah, I mean the mainstream everything, of course, like back in the day. Nowadays, I do a lot of Hosier, Ed
mm,
Sheeran.
mm-hmm.
I've been really into Leon Bridges lately.
Okay,
I do like a lot of like Stolen Glance, like Milky Chance, that like radio station on Spotify. So like whatever they throw at me. I listen to Alaska by Maggie Rogers like on repeat sometimes.
right, right.
Yeah, I just like the soulful, like good, feel good music. That's
So,
that's really it.
and more in your area, who are your film influences, male and female?
So I actually watch a bit more television than I do film, and my focus, I guess, would be television. You
Okay,
know, I'm not going to say no to a film role
right.
ever, um, but I think Saldana, just growing up watching her, being a badass in everything she did. Um,
I'm
I
sorry.
think she's Hollywood's one of like the most underrated actors. She has the ability to morph and be her instrument really sharp. I loved her across like decades.
Right,
So I think she's one of my influences. I mean, who wouldn't say Meryl Streep?
right.
There's that. And Robin Williams, I got to meet like a lot of the people I work. I got to meet Robin Williams when I worked at Warner Brothers,
Uh huh.
and he has this like light that out of him as a human.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he came in looking like a person, and I was like, because I don't know who the guy is. He was like really scruffy and like all this stuff. And it was Robin Williams, and he just turn to me, and I saw his blue eyes sparkle, and I was like, Robin Williams, like you just like get taken aback by him.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't get starstruck very often, but he was definitely something else. He's like magnetic energy and charm to him. And I talk about him in the present tense because sometimes I feel like there's some people who, like Betty White, who I just refuse to believe that she's not here anymore.
Man.
There are some people I just talk about in the present tense because I'm like, they're still around. They're still doing their thing. I feel like certain energies really like move on.
You mentioned Betty White
I
when I would watch on Friday nights
Mhm.
with my mom before I went out to go party, and when I was in high school, I would watch the Golden Girls with her because it was just so funny. In high school I got it.
Right. The humor really holds up well.
Oh my God, it really does still to this day. Um,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just mentioning. I went to the Austin Festival this past June,
Uh huh.
and they did a Golden Girls reading of the first two scripts
Oh
on
wow.
stage, and it was phenomenal. And it was like these big actresses and actors who like came in and did it, and
What?
the writing was so phenomenal, the delivery was so phenomenal, like in the show, and it like what we just said, it holds up and like really stands the test of time.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone in the audience was crying because a lot of the people who were the clips, they actually had met Betty White in some capacity in their
Wow.
careers, and so they all had like a little anecdote about her, and just we felt her presence so strongly. Everyone on stage in the audience, everyone was crying. I was sobbing like a baby. We were all just like in this like moment of like, especially with the climate this past year.
Yeah.
We were just all in a moment of like love and joy. So amazing to see that, like, even after she's no longer with us,
Right.
that her impact is that lasting and that like deep, felt by everyone. So anyway, just wanted to,
Was that filmed by anybody?
probably they probably have recorded. The people who run the Austin Television Festival probably have that on tape. They must,
I will have to
because
look that up.
why not? And also, it was really powerful.
Okay, so when was the first piece that you did that you knew? Actually, we kind of talked about it early, and when your first thing, you kind of knew you wanted to do it. But when you were an adult, when you thought, okay, this is, I'm supposed to be here. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. What
Mm-hmm.
was that moment like for you?
Mm-hmm. I know this is going to sound crazy. When I was on the set of One Tree Hill in Wilmington,
Mm-hmm.
I had a voice, and I'm not like a religious, I'm more spiritual than anything else.
Same.
But I had this moment on set, like, we started getting rained on, they started packing up the set, the lights were being broken down, everything. And I was kind of just standing there alone amidst what scene we just did. And I had this James Earl Jones voice loudly speak, "This is what you're going to do for the rest of your life."
What?
And I looked around and there was no one there. And that's like verbatim. And I heard it so loud and clear. And I was like, it was a sense of like peace and calm that took over. And I was like, okay, I believe in the sign. I believe in the voice. I don't know where it's coming from. Maybe it's within me. Maybe it's outside. Whatever universe is trying to say to me. I'm an English major because I'm a storyteller. I
Right.
love story. I love being able to like relay. And it's, I mean, the oldest thing we've ever done as a humanity is share our stories, right?
Yes.
Pass it on to the next generation for anecdotal entertainment, for survival, for, distraction, everything. They say the three E's are what? Entertain, escape, and educate.
Yep.
And those are the three reasons we as humans do this. And it was just that aha moment, light bulb moment in my life. And when I started getting into it, there were so many moments of like challenge and plateau, and I should quit because this is not my thing.
Yeah.
And it's every time I hit that wall, I think, what else would I do? I can be doing other things. I do other things for like income and this, not that I'm passionate about, I'm creative
Right.
with, and all of that. And I find joy in them. But there's nothing like feeling that I get when I'm on a set and I have the character and I'm with, my cast and then the crew and the cameras rolling and we're just going. Like there's this out of body surreal experience that happens
Yeah.
every time. And it just feels so right to not be myself in
Yeah.
a weird way, but to like use people of me to tell a story. And it's so rich. But yeah, no, as soon as that One Tree Hill project happened, I was like, this is it. Like I can't go back
Yeah.
now ever again.
It's exactly it. The feeling, like for
Does that feel that way? Oh, I was asking, is that how you feel about directing and creating?
yeah. I mean, that moment for me was on a film that we were shooting in Fredericksburg, and it was like the biggest probably production that I had done. And the producer, I mean, we had like crane cameras and all that. It was pretty big, and we were setting up for a scene. And I put my brother in the film. My brother Richard was a police officer, a deputy sheriff. So I put him in as a detective, and we were standing. They were setting up, and we were standing back, and it was a night scene, and I have a picture of it too. And the crane lights are on, and the guys are on the building setting up lights, and the microphones and actors are getting. And I looked at my brother and I said, and it's something that I wrote, and I looked at my brother and I said, and there was a good 60 people. I said, all these people are getting paid because of something that came out of my head,
Amazing.
You know what I mean? That's when it hit me.
That's such a beautiful,
And that
yeah,
we have that picture. I have that
that's
picture.
it.
And it was just everybody working like busy bees, and I was just standing there like in awe. You know, nighttime, the big lights, and we never got to see that film because of whatever happened with the executive producer. But that's another story. But we met some great people, and that's where I met Chip. You haven't met Chip, but Chip is now a co-owner with me in my company. Since Michael stepped down
Oh
and
my
moved to California, and Chip, I keep talking about me. I'm sorry. Chip was a guy that I asked one of the actors to show me three directors, because I wanted a director and to help me, co-director. And out of the three, I picked Chip, just from his IMDb and da da da. Well, it turns out that Chip and I are born on the same day, a year apart. And Chip and I were both in the
God.
military, in the army, and actually both attended basic training at the same time, at the same post. And talk about,
Are you serious?
yeah, I was like Alpha 18.
Kismet.
I was like Alpha 18-4, and he was like Delta 18-4, like two buildings
Oh
down.
my God.
So it was just so we've been
That's amazing.
soul brothers since then, and he's has 100 something like you, hundreds and hundreds of credits. When as you say you're a writer, have you written and directed anything yourself?
Funny you ask. So I write on and off in life, but I actually am currently writing a feature script.
Oh,
My first time doing so.
okay.
And so it's a little bit of time, but I've been pitching it to producers and kind of just seeing, what people are feeling and thinking about it. And I'm getting some really good feedback and reception.
Okay.
And I have some people who are interested in reading the script done. And yeah, I mean, like, it's been interesting. I moved here 10 years ago
Right.
and then had to take a few years off from acting for personal reasons. And then got back into it, pandemic,
Right.
got back into it, strikes, got back into it, fires.
Yep.
And it's something kind of after the next. And I've been auditioning here and there. I actually haven't had an audition in a minute. I've been auditioning for projects actually in Texas, and Man and Kin and things like that. But I also am, of a certain age now, and I'm like, you know what? I kind of just want to take my life into my own hands
Yeah.
and make my own work and put myself at the forefront of it and
Exactly.
see how I do as a writer, as a lead actor, as possibly a director, and bull by the horns, right? Like life is too short. I've had wonderful, dear friends, people in my life who have passed on recently at
Yep.
way too young of an age,
Yep.
and they just had like this like joie de vivre, They just the passion and the zest that they had for storytelling. It was so palpable, and I want that. I want to like do that. I want to be that. And yeah, so I'm writing my own script right now.
Well, you want to give us a hint of what it's about, kind of, a little bit?
Sure. I'll give you a little elevator pitch. Um,
There you go.
so it's a 40-something-year-old woman who doesn't know what she wants to do with her life, and through a series of hiccups, relationships, and in her life, she ends up single and kind of directionless in her 40s, and finds that her passion for fashion actually, and I made this person like part of the fashion industry. She finds that she really wants to do this thing but doesn't know how to get into it because she never went to Parsons, she never went to MIT. She feels imposter syndrome, she feels like she's behind the curve, all that. And she meets this woman who introduces her to people and opens up a few like things in her life, avenues, doors that she wouldn't have otherwise like
Mm-hmm.
experienced. And they go to the finance seminar, a wealth management, learning about, finances. And this was inspired by a finance book that I read
Oh.
like last year. And so yeah, and it's like in this book that I read, there's true stories of like these women who come from all over the world to this like finance seminar. They talk about how money has impacted their lives in good and bad ways.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this woman who came from India, and she had had acid thrown in her face by a man because she rejected him. And she talks about like, having money for women in this scene is just so important because they're able to like be self-sufficient, to not have to rely on a man, not be in like harmful, abusive relationships
Right.
because of like survival and things like that. So this woman from India ended up passing away while she was at the conference telling her story.
Oh.
So reading this book really inspired this story that I'm writing, where my protagonist goes to this conference, meets all these women who have stories of hardships, and she is so moved by all of the stories of resilience and overcoming adversity and all that she in her hotel room at night like is so inspired that she can't sleep, and she has this like sewing machine that she carries around with her everywhere, and she like starts like weaving like these stitching these stories of hardship into like the tulle into like the under part of the dress.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the top layer of the dresses is the words of hope and joy and like prosperity and abundance and things like that. And so she ends up inadvertently catching the attention of designers
Right.
that she's always admired, who are her idols, who now want to like collaborate with her. And so she ends up basically inadvertently getting to her dreams and her goals just through like, being in a situation where she's inspired by these other women. So
Perseverance.
that's my
Well, it sounds like amazing. I hope you get that made.
thank you. I appreciate that. I talked to a producer who does like she produces plays. It's really fun to see as a play. And I never thought of that, but it'd be really fun to do like a choreographed dance with the dresses and stuff like that.
Oh
So
my God, that would
I'm
be
going to be writing a play version of it as well.
that would be awesome. And that's since we've not seen each other, that's another one of my titles now. I'm a playwright. I'm actually a member of the Vortex Community Theater of Dramatists now.
Oh my God, congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, it freaked me out when I had
When
last year, this year, January, I had a play read at the Vortex Theater, and they invited me to become a member of the Community of Dramatists, and so I got another one that I'm coming. Hopefully in December, I'll have a first reading and a workshop, and maybe for next year I'll be able to put on a full play. But yeah, that's a whole nother ball game, man. That is a whole nother ball game. It started from a short film. Anyway, it started from a short film, and it turned into. I said, you know what, this would probably be a good play, and I sent it in as a play, and they were like, let's do it. And so yeah, I had a full audience. It's a black box theater, so 40 people is a full audience. And it was great, and I had to get up there and talk to everybody about the project and how they were asking me questions. It was really interesting thing to do. Anyway, so for you, when you're writing and creating, I mean, I know it's hard for me killing off characters and stuff like that. But when do you know when something is done? When do you know when your story is done?
I used to be someone who really needed like the nice little bow at the end, and I read a lot. I
Mm-hmm.
read quite a bit. I always have my headphones on. They're always with me. I always have like an audible book playing. I'm always like consuming
Yes.
stories, you know. Um, but real life is messy,
Yep.
Real life doesn't have nice bows, closures, and things like that. So I like to find something right in the middle where it's satisfying enough of a conclusion,
Mm-hmm.
but without having like the nice perfect ending.
Right.
Like it just doesn't work that way. And I think being on this earth 40 plus years, and you realize, like, I think that I don't love it when it's like such an open-ended ending sometimes. Like, I feel so unsatisfied when I watch things like that.
Yeah.
But I also don't love it when it's like too sharp and too perfect.
Yeah.
Life is life is beautifully messy. Life is tragic.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the asymmetry of an ending is, I think, my perfect little ending. So I just feel it. It just resonates. Like, okay, I left this open so I can close this other thing, and then we're done.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. I don't know why when you're telling me this, it reminds me of a film that a screenplay that we're gonna have to talk about, you and me. Um, because it's exactly what you're saying. When you're saying that, I'm imagining you in this role that I wrote a few years back. That's still in my head because it's one of those
Would
things
love to work together again.
you have to get it out. We have to get it out, and it's we could probably do it, man, because it's like a limited location. Yeah, we could probably get away with pulling that off ourselves. Um, 3 actors, maybe 4 actors. That's it. Anyways, and
Mhm.
like you're saying, it doesn't end
Yeah.
pretty. It's a really quick synopsis. I know you got to go. A girl gets a letter. She was in the military, and she gets a letter about insurance for her ex-husband. She's like, okay, he's my ex-husband. Why would he come to me for insurance? And da da da. So she figures it out. And then he was in an accident, and da da da. She goes to him in New Mexico, and she has her own relationship that's with a major drunk, abuser kind of relationship. So she's ready to boogie anyways, and she goes and so when he wakes up, he thinks he's still married to her, and this whole story unravels, and they fall back in love. And in the very end, her husband shows up, and she he kills him, and then she kills her ex-husband, and so nobody wins. Like you're saying, nobody wins in this situation. You know what I mean? She had it. So yeah, I'm gonna have to send
Yeah.
that to you. I'm definitely got to send it to you. Okay, so
Okay.
I know you got to go soon.
Yeah, please.
Is there something in your IMDb that you wish that more people knew about?
Let's see. One of my most fun projects
Hmm.
I did with a director in Austin. I don't know if it's still on. It was on Amazon Prime for a while, but it was my first role as a lead in,
Oh,
a romantic comedy, Driven to the Altar. And I don't know if you know David Reyes of X-Horn Productions
yeah.
in Austin.
What was the name of the film?
Trip into the Altar.
Tripping. I kind of remember that title. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I gotta watch that.
Yeah. It was my first lead in a feature. So, I mean, that was, it was a thing. My last project that I was Quantum, the TV show, the reboot. So that
Oh yeah.
it was like a tiny little co-star role, nothing crazy, but it was the thing that got me my, SAG eligible. Well, I was SAG
Sweet.
eligible for a while. It was my joint moment. I booked a commercial and that show all in like one, like back to back, like within like a day,
Oh,
which was really cool.
nice.
It's been a little quiet since, so that's why I was like, I'm gonna start writing my own work, but
Got
I'm
to.
also gonna try to, double down and get back into the thing. I've taken a little bit of a hiatus this year as I've been settling into my new place
Hmm.
and, family stuff, life stuff, and all of that.
Right.
But I think these moments to like retreat and reflect and recalibrate what I want out of my career as an actor or writer or director or
A creative.
producer is really important to be able to just like refocus and recommit, in a way,
Yeah.
because the game is long. It's
Yeah.
as long as like the rest of our lives, and so uh, it's not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere, and it's nice to kind of just keep checking in with self of like, what's next for me? What do I want to say with my art, with my work? What message do I want to put out?
Yeah. Exactly.
And what does the world need right now?
I had thought of this idea for this podcast because, again, my co-director was in a really bad accident, so our film was put off, and I'm like, what are we gonna do? What am I gonna do? And I work at night, and the name just came to me, and I don't know what it, green chili chisme. You know what chisme means? It means like gossip, talk, which is what we're doing. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I didn't know what it was going to be, but this is what. And I thought, I know all these amazing people in the music world and in the film world, and then Flaco Jimenez died, and then it became very clear that a legacy. It's finding out about you. Trying to hold my emotion here, finding out about you, because we're not all going to be here all for forever, and if there's a record of our history and our legacy, and I wish I would have been able to record Flaco Jimenez. He was with our company. He did stuff with our company for years, and it just so with even with your parents, and you got to get these record some time with them and get stories and archive, because this is what it's all about. And in that, let me end with this. What did when did you realize the word legacy, and what does it mean to you now?
I think I really started thinking about legacy in 2016, 2017. I was going through a lot, of course, and moving here, and all of that. And actually, this is going to be really funny. I'm gonna
Yeah, yeah,
move you for a second and show you something.
sure.
So this is going to kind of circle back to One Tree Hill.
Okay.
But we talked about One Tree Hill earlier, and this frame says, "What will your legacy be?"
Yep.
I don't know if you can see it; it's backwards.
Nope, it's
But
perfect.
oh yeah. So in 2017, I ended up going to this program called MTT, and Mastery and Transformational Training, and it was all about like leadership and like self accountability, really taking your who you are and what you're putting out there as a person,
Right.
what your message is, and what you're working towards, and which relationships you have in your life, and things like that. And so that was really impactful. And a lot of the lessons that I've learned at that time there and then on have been about legacy and like impact. And I think that the two words are so hand in hand with each
Yeah.
other. Um, this is a long-winded way of
No,
explaining.
it's fine.
And that I really felt like, okay, this is a mortality conversation. This is even if I don't have kids to pass on a legacy to, my work, whether on the screen or by writing or my interactions with people, that's all going to live on.
Right.
How do I want that to be? What do I want people to take away? And what lessons, what stories, what information, what feelings, what do I want people to take away from my life? And so legacy is that for me. It's that lasting impact that resonates like a ripple effect in a pond or flap of a butterfly wing.
Yep.
And like we started the conversation off with my grandfather.
Right.
His impact and legacy was so powerful that to this day I still talk all the time, and like every time I do, I recommit becoming that person that I would want him to be proud of, and so that's legacy, that's impact, like that's going to be with me till I die, and even then on, because of all the people who now know about him
Right.
through my talking about him, your podcast thing.
Right.
And hopefully that resonates with people, like it's that ripple effect. And then what I want that to be for me is what my father had, which maybe I'm not, being unhelped people off the street and give them jobs and things like that. But like, if I'm making someone's day better, if I'm paying someone a compliment, if I'm making them smile or recognize something about themselves that they may not have thought of or been insecure about, whatever it is, if I'm making people feel good with the stories I'm telling or the content that I'm sharing on my social media or what it is, I just want positivity, right? Like, again, the
Right.
world is too tough, it's too tragic. There's so much that we're always like fighting against. And so, like, if I could be that tiny little voice
Yep.
that's like, it gets better, it's okay, you're not alone. You have someone who understands you and loves you, and you are loved. That's it.
That's it. You know,
That's
you
really it.
when you were talking about your grandpa at the top of the pod, I was like, why does this sound familiar to me? Why does this sound familiar to me? Last night on my way home, I was listening to a podcast where Lionel Richie was on, and he was on Smartless, and his grandfather, the way you described your grandfather, is the way he described his grandfather. That he would, he would come home with a man and sit him at the table, and his wife would be like, this is John, this is my wife, da, da, da. And his wife was like, hi, nice to meet you. I'm gonna go to the kitchen, I'll be right back. And she's like, well, can I go to the kitchen with you? Like, who is this? And he needs a suit, he's got a job tomorrow. He doesn't have a suit. And she goes, well, why are you giving him a suit? Well, because he needs it. I can buy another suit. He doesn't have one. That it totally
Right.
reminded me. That's what your grandfather's story reminded me of. I was trying to figure it out. Why does that sound familiar? Anyway, so thank you so much. I don't want to keep. I know you have an audition coming up. Um, these stories are important, and I think capturing all these things are important. And then, if not anything else, to look back on in 14 more years and see where we are then.
Yes. Hopefully not that long, but
Yeah, no.
hopefully we're working together
I think
again
I
sooner
gotta
than
send you that
later.
script. I'm gonna send you it after we finish here. Okay, thank you again, Laura. I know you're so busy, and I appreciate you coming on the show. And it was so fabulous seeing you and catching up with you again.
So nice to reconnect. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, you're so welcome, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you. Bye.